And welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. So glad to have you with us on this first weekend in June 2013. We are now joined by Adam Kokesh. He is the host of a internet radio show called Adam versus the Man. He's also a key organizer for a rally that was supposed to take place this July 4th in Washington, D.C., in which he had been encouraging folks to bring loaded weapons to the nation's capital. Adam is a more complicated and complex figure than a lot of people have given him credit, but it's my pleasure to welcome Adam to the program. Adam, good to have you on board.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
So, Adam, I want to talk about the gun rally in just a couple of minutes, but first I want to talk a little bit about your background. You're a veteran of the Iraq War. You served in Fallujah, received the Combat Action Ribbon. You've served your country. Tell me a little bit about your evolution in terms of war. You helped with the group of Veterans Against the War. Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, it was partly the realization that I wasn't serving my country in any way as a Marine in Iraq. I was serving the politicians that understand that war is the health of the state and all of the special interests that benefit from war spending. So coming home, I got involved with Iraq Veterans Against the War, and that really was an important step in the journey for me because I found myself surrounded by the liberals and the anti-war movement, and being a libertarian, I knew I was right about everything. I just had to prove it to people. So I decided that I wanted to get the airtight arguments. I wanted to be able to fully justify every position that I was taking, and that's what led me to a deeper philosophical understanding of libertarianism. And really not taking the subjective preference out of what I'm advocating when there are a lot of libertarians who say, well, we should have less government because I like more freedom, without saying, well, what is freedom, and understanding what the non-aggression principle is in self-ownership, and then coming to realize that all government by coercion is invalid and is detrimental to human existence. And you can prove that. You can argue that from first principles and show that if you believe these fundamental assumptions, that you own yourself, then government is always detrimental to human prosperity and happiness, and as coercion always is. And you become an anarcho-capitalist or voluntarist, specifically as a philosophically grounded libertarian. And then you're not like just another liberal or conservative expressing a preference, but actually being able to demonstrate how you are correct when it comes to increasing human happiness by reducing coercion in society.
I get all that, but doesn't the simple sort of capitalism in our society that we all live in, doesn't that inherently create a relationship of coercion with people who are seeking work or seeking income or even seeking freedom?
No, I think that's a terrible misunderstanding of either coercion or capitalism. But if you define coercion as a threat of force against someone, that is, you are coercing them by threatening to use force against them if they do or don't do something. And capitalism as that ideal in which you own yourself and therefore own the product of your labor. You own the capital, which is the ultimate productive capacity, which is that of the individual human being. Then we're able to achieve that capitalist ideal of all human interactions being free of force, fraud, and coercion.
Just to be clear about libertarianism, does it support labor unions in that effort?
Well, not under the current legal framework. I mean, when you say that there should be a labor union, people absolutely have the right to freedom of speech and the right to freedom of association, and if that's what a union consists of, then it's entirely within the rights of the people involved. But if a union, or a corporation for that matter, or a legal entity, it creates a framework within the statutes, not the true law, but within statutes, that says, these people have special privileges that others are denied, then it's a problem.
Something like Social Security, in which a lot of conservatives, and I've heard some libertarians say that Social Security is essentially robbing the people's freedom, and yet isn't this an example of something that was paid for and owned by the people? It's an example of the government, of the people essentially exercising their will through a government program that they want.
Well, the people don't have a right to steal from each other. That's what makes government government, the socially granted monopoly on the initiation of force. So if I put a gun to your head and say, this is for your own good, you're going to give me a portion of your income, and I'm going to invest in your retirement, I would go to jail. But if the government does it, then, there's no one to stop them when the people accept it. But it's still theft. And when you talk about, do the people own it? Well, if the people contributed to it, they really have some right to reparation from having that money stolen from them initially, but that doesn't mean that you have a right to have someone else provide for your retirement.
I want to get to the issue of legalization of marijuana. Some of our listeners may not realize you were in jail for the past, I don't know, 2 weeks, whatever it was, stemming from something that happened at a pro-legalization rally. First, tell me a little bit about your views on marijuana, and then describe what happened a couple of weeks ago in Philadelphia.
Sure. Well, when it comes to the issue of freedom itself, you own your body and you have the right to decide what you put in your own body. Simple as that. If someone says you can't put that in your body, then what they are saying is they own you to a certain degree. They can use force against you to stop you from asserting your right to your health freedom, to deciding what your body chemistry is going to be. And it's a pretty absurd premise. But I was at a marijuana legalization rally called Smoke Down Prohibition 5, and it was the 5th time we had done one of these in Philadelphia, just the weekend before last. And I didn't have any marijuana on me. I hadn't smoked any. And the police rushed into the crowd and pulled me out, tried to tackle me and failed, but pulled me out of the crowd and ended up trying to charge me with assault. And because I was able to play hardball because there were so many people supporting me outside of prison, they were, I guess, forced to drop the charges, and I was released with citations, which I refused to sign, so they were invalid. But I think it's really important that people step it up right now when it comes to asserting these rights. And a lot of people are outraged that Obama has been such a terrible hypocrite. You know, when it came out that he was a heavy marijuana smoker in his youth himself, and now he's putting people in jail and ruining people's lives for smoking marijuana. So I think the only thing worse than ignorance is paying attention and being outraged and not taking action. So for everybody who's outraged, we have an event coming up June 8th in front of the White House, the joint summit with President Trump, and we're going to be smoking in front on the north side. 3:30 to 4:30 is the event. If anybody wants to join us, they can find information about that at adamversusaman.com/calendar, as well as what we have coming up for Independence Day.
But just to be clear, you weren't in jail for smoking marijuana per se. You were in jail because they alleged that you had this confrontation with a police officer, right?
Well, I was framed. I was set up. I was set up by the feds, and they tried to get away with charging me with assault. And because there were enough video cameras there and there was enough public pressure, they had to back down.